Hey guys, and welcome back to r/EntitledPeople. Hope you're all doing awesome. Be sure to like and subscribe, and let's get right into today's stories. An entitled Karen tries pushing me off the train because it's too crowded. For a bit of background, my city subway system is great. For as little as 87 cents, 54 cents per ride if you charge a special card with 12 of them, you can get from any point in the city to any other point. Some stations are more crowded than others. I had to switch trains to get to where I had to. There are different lines which can be accessed from different stations, which are connections between these lines. I had to go from line 1 to line 2. Connection between those two were an escalator, a tunnel, and stairs or an elevator. So without any more useless info, let's get into it. This includes me, Karen, and normal person. So I was going to line 2. That connection station I was going to usually is really crowded, but this time it was not. From line 1. And after going down the escalator, I saw Karen pushing through the crowd. And in my head, I was like, what the hell? Then I went to wait for the train. One comes every 8 to 15 minutes. 3 minutes later, it comes. First people get off, then you can get on. When I try to get on, I get pushed off and into the nice person. Of course, Karen was the one who pushed me off. And I yelled out, "Lady, what the?" She said, "It's too crowded, I can't let you in." She let like 10 other people in, but pushed me off. And the train wasn't crowded at all. The nice person asked me why I bumped into him like that, and I was like, that lady pushed me off the train. Then he said, I saw her doing something. After that, I saw something that almost made me start laughing out loud. Karen fell off the train in an attempt to push someone else off. I got on, then the doors closed in her face. She started banging on the train and it went away, leaving her to wait for another one. Now if that isn't instant karma, I don't know what is. Traffic cones of doom. At a previous rental house, there was an old gravel dirt access road that cut between my house and my neighbors, and the two houses behind us that faced the next street over. I think it was a remnant of the old neighborhood, and the city never paved it. It was barely wide enough for a car. No one knew whose property it belonged to. No one really used it except for spare parking during the holidays. It was also a safe place for our kids and our neighbors' kids to play on bikes and such. At some point, a guy in a Tahoe found it and started using it as a shortcut from my street to the next street over, instead of going all the way down the street to the stop sign, which saved him all of 45 seconds. Never saw him parked anywhere in my neighborhood. He just came through a few times a week. It wouldn't have been a big deal, but he liked to floor it, kick up gravel, and go as fast as possible right between our houses. My neighbor bought a couple of small traffic cones and placed them halfway up the road, so you'd have to do a slow wiggle to get around them in a vehicle. A couple of days go by and she comes over with her traffic cones, which had been obliterated, and she says she saw the same guy run them over. I go out and buy a couple of more cones, maybe 18 inches tall, and an 80-pound bag of concrete. I flipped them over, stopped up the top of the cones with duct tape, and filled them to the brim with concrete. Once they dried, I put the two 40-pound cones in the same places my neighbor had hers, and let the neighbors know what was up. Unfortunately, I missed it, but my neighbor didn't. Tahoe Boy did his usual gravel spin out, and absolutely nailed one of my cones. The orange plastic was burst open, and the concrete was in 3 big chunks. She heard the impact, and saw him get out, check his vehicle, and drive away. I never saw him again after that. But I like to think I left a reminder on his vehicle to not Dukes of Hazzard a tiny access road in between houses. Park entitled, Hope You Like Paying. This just happened at my workplace. All names changed. For backstory, a coworker of mine, Amber, has been dating a bylaw officer, Greg, in the city where I live. When he takes his lunch break, he usually comes by to chat her up if she's on shift. Other than him, we don't get a lot of law enforcement out to our area of town very often. It's a normal day. I'm gathering up shopping carts in the parking lot. At our store, the area directly in front of the store is designated as a fire zone. There's yellow markings painted on the road surface denoting where the zone is, coupled with signs all along our storefront saying that it's a fire zone. And there is to be no parking or even stopping within it. And it's well away from any legitimate parking spots. Despite the markings though and the signs, people still like to park there. Usually, quote, just to grab a few things. Sometimes one person will park there and their partner will hop out to go shopping. Every time I'm out there grabbing buggies, I always walk over and tell them, hey look, this is a fire zone. If bylaw swings by, you could get fined or towed. Most people look at me like they expect me to pull a tow truck out of my back pocket and nail them right then and there. I usually have to follow up with, "I'm just letting you know in case you didn't. If you want to park there, I'm not going to stop you, but it's your own fault if bylaw shows up." This is usually enough for most people to thank me for my diligence, park there anyway, and go inside. The odd person will snark back at me along the lines of, "What, do you think I'm blind? I know where I parked." And I just have to apologize over and over until they walk away. Today was different. This beat-up old Ford comes in hard and almost squeals to a stop in the fire zone. I just happen to be passing by with carts, thankfully on the sidewalk. I don't want to imagine what might have happened otherwise, and I get his attention. He's easily north of 65 and probably enjoying his 70s. He's got a Friar Tuck haircut and whatever the male equivalent of resting bitch face is. I can already tell, even as I'm opening my mouth, that this is probably a bad idea. It was just a force of habit at this point. "Excuse me, sir, this is a fire zone you've parked in. If bylaw comes by while you're inside, you could get fined or towed." He scowls at me. "So? Bylaw never shows up. Who the f do you think you are? The f***ing grocery police?" I'm already adopting the customer service apology face. "No, sir, I'm not trying to tell you what to do. I was just..." He cuts me off. "You're goddamn right you aren't telling me what to do. I've been driving a car since you were a disappointing rut for your mother on prom night. I'll park any damn where I damn well please, and you are going to do jack shit about it." Me trying again. "Sir, I was only trying to tell..." Cut off again. He gets right in my face with a finger. "You don't tell me goddamn anything. I tell you what's what, and you get the f out of my way and go do your worthless minimum wage bullshit job for the rest of your miserable worthless life." All I can reply with is "Yes, sir." He puffs out his chest, glares at me, and goes inside. I look up as he's leaving, and who do I spot pulling in but Greg. I see his bylaw vehicle. I look at the truck. I smile. I practically sprint to him. He sees me coming. "Hey OP, how's your day?" "Terrible," I reply, but hopefully about to get a whole lot better. "Why's that?" I point to the beat-up Ford. This old a-hole just tore me a new one for trying to tell him he's parked in a fire zone. You mind giving him some karma? Greg grins. He loves sticking it to bullies. I can do that. He grabs his ticket book and heads over. It was hilarious. He started in on writing the ticket while I went about my business. The old guy takes his sweet time getting back out of the store, and he shows up just in time to see Greg slip the ticket under his wiper. I was inside the store at the time, so I didn't get to hear it all, but the old guy was screaming and cursing at the top of his lungs, as Greg, who was responding to him in a composed manner, calmly explained the ticket process. He spoke to the guy for a few minutes, then went inside to see Amber. On his way in, I pass him by and say, "Whatever you drink, let me know. I'll have a case of it waiting for you in the cooler next week." He just laughed, shook his head, and went inside. It wasn't much, just a $150 fine, but it felt so good. Leaving a 2- and 4-year-old with random woman, me, and her toddler. So this just happened, and I'm so pissed. So this week has been rough. My toddler is going through some rebellious phase. My husband was away all week with our car, and my mother-in-law, who babysits for us, is on a vacation. I'm a work-from-home mom, and there were some emergencies at work. Let's just say I'm exhausted. So today I took my daughter outside for a long walk with the stroller, and decided to grab a lunch at a local food court. As I get her things, she's being really fussy, but I managed to calm her down. A mom with 2 small kids sits next to us, and places her kids on high chairs, almost barstool height. Not children's high chairs, but regular adult ones, without straps or even a back. She strikes up a short conversation with me as our daughters are similar ages, and then when I'm trying to feed my kid, I hear her say, "So you guys look out for each other in the bags. The nice lady is here. I'll go grab a coffee." And before I say anything, she's gone. I was surprised, like very surprised, but alright. I can understand a fellow parent being tired and needing a coffee. I bet she'll be back in a minute, right? Nope. 15 minutes later, my meal is untouched, as I try to keep my toddler sitting while persuading 2 kids I've never seen before to not jump from their bar stools. The older one was nice and wanted to chat, but also tried to jump down and go look for his mother multiple times. The younger one is just a toddler herself and is afraid of the height. So every time I turn around to my daughter, she goes to jump down on the hard floor. I'm losing it. This is not what I need today. Another 15 minutes later, so half an hour in total, the mom comes back with a Starbucks cup. The Starbucks is not even in the food court. It's on the other end of the mall. She goes, "Sorry guys, there was a queue," and doesn't even look at me. I feel myself ready to say something nasty. So I just grab my completely cold food, wave bye to the kids, and leave with my daughter. What the hell? Who does that? What would she do if I just up and left? If my child started screaming and I just had to leave? The place was crowded. She'd never find her kids, who were nice enough to tell me they were 2 and 4. I feel like a gullible idiot for just caring for that idiot's kids, but I couldn't live with myself if something happened to them. None of that was their fault. Yeah, that's the thing, she really just took advantage of some random person, without even getting so much as an okay, and probably put too much blind trust in them just because OP is a mother herself. And OP's right, nothing was stopping her from just getting up and walking away. Which, sure, that would be risky for the kids, but then again, it's not her responsibility at all, especially when OP never even got a chance to respond. Why don't I put up a fence if I don't want your child climbing in my trees? Done. Not myself, but my aunt has some new neighbors, renting the house next to her owned property. These guys have a toddler and a slightly older child and a dog that they love to leave outside unattended. Absolutely priceless when child services showed up, and the 2-year-old was alone in the front yard. The bigger kid had started coming into my aunt's yard and climbing one of her trees, and she asked them to keep their kid out of her yard and trees kindly, as she doesn't want a lawsuit if the kid falls and breaks a leg on her property. The guy says, if it's such a big deal, why don't you just put up a fence? She cut down the tree the kid was climbing, and a few others, and stacked all the limbs into a 6-foot wall of natural fence. The guy was pissed. He asked her why she had to be such a bitch about it. Sorry, thought we were taking your advice. Edit. To everyone really concerned about the trees, she was already planning to get rid of them due to rot and proximity to the house. The fence idea just came up after this guy decided to be a jerk about keeping his kid out of her yard. She was just going to have the wood hauled off until that conversation struck the fence idea. I'll throw in this comment here too. There was a woman who had a swimming pool in her backyard. She had a standard wooden fence around it. Well, neighborhood kids kept getting into it and swimming while she wasn't home. She made the rounds and tried to tell all the parents, that they couldn't have their kids in her pool. She was worried about somebody drowning. Kids kept showing up, so she had concertina razor wire installed around the top of the fence. Neighbors freaked out and called the police and were doing interviews for the newspaper, blah blah blah. I saw an interview she did for the TV news, and she basically said, "I tried everything I could to protect myself and these kids, and since nobody wanted to listen, I made sure it wasn't going to happen again." Well guys, that is it for today. Thanks for watching, be sure to drop a like, it really helps me out, and also subscribe to the channel for more. And with that, I'm out of here, so have an awesome day, take care, and I'll see you next time.